Hi, thanks for joining me today. What I want to talk to you about is cancer, pediatric cancer. This is a touchy subject for me because one of my best friend's son was diagnosed with cancer just a few years ago. Now, it's a great success story to be told here too, but that's not what I want to talk to you about. What I want to talk to you about is the fact that 1 out of 285 children under the age of 20 are diagnosed with cancer every year in the United States alone. That's also the second leading cause of death in the United States as well. But what's not being talked about is what immediately follows diagnosis of that cancer, and that's the treatment process. This is a real struggle for families. On top of all the medical bills, trying to keep the house clean, mow the yard, or any one of these natural services that most of us take for granted becomes a real struggle. My name's Doug Sinclair, and I need your help in supporting these families as they go through the treatment process. Now, we all agree that cancer is a horrifying disease, and we're all terrified of that news of finding out that our son or daughter has been diagnosed with cancer. Now, there is good news out there too. More than 80% of children that are diagnosed with cancer live 5 years or more. That's a fantastic stat. And our hearts go out to those families whose son or daughter fought cancer, battled cancer, and didn't make it through. But again, those that did, they struggled with the treatment process, going through the treatment process. Now, it also has a huge psychological impact on the mom and dad as well. So take, for example, we have 3 great hospitals right here in Washington. We have Sacred Heart and Mary Bridge and our very own Seattle Children's Hospital. So what if, for example, a family lives in Vancouver, Washington, and their treatment plan says that they need to drive up to Seattle Children's Hospital 5 days a week for maybe a year, 12 months. Well, fortunately, there's some great organizations out there, such as Ronald McDonald House, which is an awesome organization. And they allow for these families to stay right next. They can live right next to the hospital, Seattle Children's Hospital, for the duration of that treatment process. That's great. Now, there's also other organizations out there, and they take into consideration funding or trips. But again, what's not being focused on here is the services and the treatment process as these folks are living through this day to day. So say, for example, again, that family that lives in Vancouver, Washington, if they have to drive up to and from every day, mom or dad, does one quit their job? Does mom stay with the patient? Does dad go down and live with the other siblings down in Vancouver, Washington? And how often are they driving back and forth? Right? So it becomes a financial burden on these families. And they may not be able to spend the amount of time that they need to spend together too. So there's childcare, there's date nights that need to happen, and who's providing that, right? Who's giving these folks the time? Who's giving these folks the funding to do these kind of things? Well, not enough is being done. To support a family to have the ability to go on a family date night and spend the time with the siblings that they're not spending because they're with the patient at Seattle Children's Hospital 5 days a week, it's about $100 a month. And you got to talk about gas, driving from Vancouver to Seattle. Now, there's a great formula out there, but on average, it's about $150 per year to support that family for that. And then once they get back from the chemo treatment, you've got house cleaning. The house is a mess, right? You've got a vacuum. You've got dishes that need to be done, laundry that's got to be done, and things are just piling up. And who's got the time to do all that? Nobody can afford a house cleaner. So it's another service that can be provided for these families that's not being done. It's just a stress that just adds on top of everything else. So on average, it takes about $200 a month to provide the house cleaning services. And groceries is another hot topic. There's services out there where you can pay for groceries and they'll deliver it, right? But we also want to be able to provide that service for those families as well. And that's groceries are about $250 a month. So I know you're running the numbers in your head. It's about $4,000 a year just to support a family. So anyway, as I mentioned, that the stress of cancer hits the entire family. Yes, it has a lot. The child is going through a lot. Those children, they're real troopers. But it also has a huge impact on the families, and it's just a struggle. You know, my heart goes out to those families. Like I said, one of my best friend's son was diagnosed with cancer. I got to see firsthand what that family had to go through, and it's a real struggle for them. You know, and again, there's many organizations out there that provide, you know, the opportunity maybe to take a mental break from those. You know, there's companies that fundraise, they get gifts and trips, and I think I've even heard of people getting cars through processes like this, which are all great. But again, there's not enough organizations, if any, that actually focus on the needs of those families through the services. But I will say, and actually, I retract my last statement because there is a great organization right here in King County. It's called Footprints of Fight. They're a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose sole mission is to help reduce the stress of the family as they're going through the pediatric cancer treatment process. Now, according to Footprints of Fight, about 300 families in Washington State are going to go through the treatment process because about 300 children a year are going to be diagnosed with cancer. But this organization can't do it all on their own. They need you. They need me. They need your friends and your family. They need all of us. And there's plenty of fundraising opportunities out there. You know, for example, they put on a Climb for a Cause last year. Second Climb for a Cause. First year they did it was $5,000. Second year they did it was a little more than $33,000. 2018, they're trying to make $70,000 as their goal. And there's great other fundraising events, but you know, all that can't be done without you and without me and without each one of our helps. So we talked about cancer affects not only just the child, but the family itself. And they need as much help as we can possibly give them as they go through the treatment process. You know, I'd appreciate if you check out their website, learn more about them, www.footprintsoffight.org. Thank you for your time.